Welcome to Lesson 1.5, Multiplication Patterns. The essential question today is, how can we use a basic fact and our knowledge of patterns with powers of 10 to find the product to an equation? Our first problem is 400 times 6. It's important to identify the basic fact in this problem. 4 times 6, which is equal to 24. And if we continue with this pattern, we can add a 0 to 40 times 6 to get 240. And then bring us to the problem they asked us to solve. 400 times 6 is 2,400. Now, the way I approach a problem like this immediately is I say, okay, well, 4 times 6 is 24, and then I just count the two zeros here and add them on. With powers of 10, you can get away with that, so we get a solution of 2,400. To understand this process using exponents, it's important to write 4 times 6 times 10, and that's to the first power. And then down here, 4 times 6 times 10 to the second power. So we'd have 4 times 6 is 24, times 10 to the second power. 10 times 10 is 100, and 24 times 100 is 2400. This page has two problems to try. I'll pause the video so you can try it out on your own. We start out with, let's try this example out. At your seat we have 500 times 40. The basic fact is 5 times 4. Continuing the pattern, we have 50 times 4, 500 times 4, and then we keep the 500 and make 4 into 40. This pattern is going to help us. We have 5 times 4 is 20. 50 times 4, we add a 0, 200. 500 times 4 is 2,000. And then 500 times 40, we now get 20,000. It's important to understand that on this line here, we have 5 times 4 times 10 to the first power. And here we have 5 times 4 times 10 to the second power. And here it's 5 times 4 times 10 to the third power. So that would look like this. 5 times 4 times 10 to the third power, which is 1,000. So if we multiplied 20 times 1,000, we would in fact get 20,000. Here is a challenge problem for you to solve. I will pause the video. The first step is to identify the basic fact, which is 2 times 7, and that equals 14. Next, we're going to continue our pattern. We're going to multiply 2 times 70, which is the same as 2 times 7 times 10, and we'll write that to the first power. And that is equal to 140. Next, we're going to multiply 2 times 700. So we'll continue our pattern, 2 times 7 in parentheses, times 10 to the second power, which is 100, and 14 times 100 is 1400. Moving along, we're going to multiply 2 times 7,000, which, once again, is 2 times 7 times 10 to the third power, and we know this is 14, and this here is 1,000. And 14 times 1,000 is 14,000. Our final step is to add a 0 to 2 to give us 20 times 7,000, and that's going to equal 2 times 7 times this 10 right in here times the 10 to the third power that we left off with, and that is going to equal 10 to the fourth power, which in this case is now 10,000. So we're going to multiply that by 14 to get 140,000. We will have an upcoming lesson on how we multiplied 10 to the first power times 10 to the third to get 10 to the fourth. And what we'll talk about is how we're just going to add these exponents, 1 plus 3, and that's going to equal 4. Soon to come.